What is up, guys? Welcome back. We got another Wednesday night live mock draft session for you guys. We're going to be doing a 12-team ESPN mock draft, and then we'll be hitting up a 10-team full PPR mock draft over on Sleeper. So I got the ESPN share up. It's it's July 23rd. We have teams practicing. We got preseason games right around the corner. This is the time to be doing mock drafts, to be doing research, to be studying and figuring some things out. We got a handful of guys here in the show tonight. We got Tony. Looks like Tony's pick 12. I'm going to be pick 11 in this one. We got Harris in there. Harris at pick 10. So we have a huge and Aiden at pick 9 here. So we have 9, 10, 11, 12. We got a fun turn over there. And then did I see Mr. Magic in here tonight? He might be in the other draft, but Aiden's got his draft date locked in. And yeah, man, now is the fun time when you know your draft spot and you can start to game things out. That's where it gets a lot of fun. But go ahead and get in the draft starting. But go ahead and get over here in the sleeper draft if you guys want to. 10-team full PPR. I did get a question from my guy, Canadians Elite, asking for pick number 2, 10-team PPR league. So we're going to do that for him. And I'll be picking from the 2 spot in that draft. So good luck to everybody. Mr. Magic is in here. He's picked 5. So we'll see what Mr. Magic does. Mbappe. And let's just have some fun with it. I will be trying to experiment and do some other things. If you guys are new to the Fantasy Fellowship, definitely check out some of the other mock drafts that we've done after this video, of course. But we're moving and grooving here. Mbappe is up. Bijan 101, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Jahmyr Gibbs, the top 4 picks. Since I'm not up yet, I just want to say, hey guys, like I'm updating the members content for you guys. We just got the projections updated. I'll be updating, I think, every Friday from now on, which means I'll be doing projections and cheat sheets and getting all that good stuff up there as we're entering the draft season. I'm going to get some redraft rankings updated, I think, at the end of the week. And then the big one that I put up this week was I updated the projection studies, projected target share, opportunity share, yard share, and touch points. Aiden and I had a good conversation on Derrick Henry yesterday. And hey, Aiden, I did update. I gave the King some more yards and some more information. So I did get him up there a little bit, as much as I could feel comfortable with. So we did boost Derrick Henry just a little bit. We'll see where he goes tonight. Aiden grabs BTJ at pick number 9. We got Mbappe talk going on here. I'm on the board here. Harris grabs Amon-Ra St. Brown. The thumbnail guy for tonight's video was Malik Neighbors, but I'm not taking Malik Neighbors, guys. He might just be off my board. I'm going to grab Puka Nacua, who I am very, very high on in my projections. I think he is one of the best receivers in the league, and he's actually like a top 3 projected receiver for me after Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb. I want as much Puka as I can handle. And he's doing some 105 study here. So Mbappe 105. And Tony grabs Malik Neighbors. I think we got to talk about Malik Neighbors just a little bit, because the interview that I saw today was very concerning. I actually had to dock Malik just a little bit in my numbers. But it's about his toe injury, man. He's going to be nursing some kind of toe aggravation injury all season long, it sounds like, and I have my concerns. But I got Puka. I missed on Achane. Tony grabbed my Achane. So I'm going to go wide receiver here. We're going to grab Puka and Nico Collins, who I am very excited about. Nico Collins. And I don't get a lot of Texans players, but when I do, I want to get Nico Collins on the team. I do have Drake London, I think, ranked higher than Nico, but we got to keep doing these mock drafts and getting different players out there to let people know that we like different guys. So I never said the word hate. I don't hate Malik Neighbors, my man, but talent-wise, he's one of the best receivers in the league. When I watched him talk about his toe injury today, and basically, they contemplated surgery. He's going to play through this thing. Injury risk, the Giants aren't going anywhere this season. That does concern me as well. We're going to have a carousel at the QB position. And I know I've talked about Cleveland doesn't matter who the quarterback is. I still think Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku are going to be fine. Well, those guys aren't a first round pick. I do worry about a guy like Malik Neighbors being my first round pick. I think for me, I'm taking Puka, I'm taking Nico, Drake London for sure over Malik Neighbors at this point, just because I like their situations a lot better. So not only are we're dealing with a toe injury, we got these QB injuries or these QB woes for Malik Neighbors. So I definitely don't hate Malik Neighbors. I'm skeptical, and I'm a little bit nervous to spend a first round pick on him. Now, if I wanted Malik Neighbors and he came to me in round 2 as my wide receiver 2, I think I'm open to that. But I just want to be a little cautious with Malik Neighbors. This is a great question from Tony here. We're entering the 3rd round, so we'll just kind of recap this first round. Which player is currently going in the first round of drafts doesn't belong there? For me, there's a lot of the guys that do belong here. I think you can make a case for Christian McCaffrey, just being nervous about his Achilles injury. Is he a first round pick? I don't feel comfortable really taking him. I think Amon-Ra is another guy that I'm nervous about with this knee surgeries that he's had in this offseason. You also just have to wonder about what the offense changes, just new offensive coordinator and things like that. I also think the emergence of Jameson Williams and maybe more Jahmyr Gibbs on the table. Just a little bit nervous about Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then for me, I think it's Malik Neighbors right now. I'm going to push him down in my rankings. So those are the 3 guys that I just have a little bit of concerns with as far as first round picks. And yeah, dude, Amarian Hampton is pretty crazy right now. I'm going to pull up some best ball ADP. I think we'll go look at DraftKings. And I know I'm going to be up to pick here in just a little bit. Let me just double check here. I've got a little bit of a breather here. But if I go look at the DraftKings ADP, this is back from July 1st. Amarian Hampton was pick 47. And I don't know why I don't have the data here, but he's going up in the mid 30s right now. So he's like a round 3-4 pick over on DraftKings. I think Drafters is the same. He's a high 30s pick now. Hampton is he's just one of those guys that I think is going to be the best running back on his backfield. He's going to catch passes, and he's just going to continue to get more work as the year goes on. And I think I'm in the same boat as you. I'm taking the pass catcher Hampton here, and Harris grabs Hampton at 34 from us. We were going to grab Hampton if possible, but I'm on the board here. I definitely think it's a good time to pull a quarterback if I want to pull Lamar or Jaden Daniels. I usually like to wait for QB, but there's a little bit of a value here. We'll see what Tony does on the turn. But I need a running back. I'm just going to lock in Breece Hall. He's a guy that I'm very comfortable with on my team. I usually get him as my RB2, but I do have a first, a top 12 grade for running back on Breece Hall. Do I look Cook over Kieran? Those guys are kind of in the same tier for me. I think I have Kieran ranked higher in my projections. And I think there's a lot of regression at touchdown coming in for James Cook. Whereas Kieran, we know that when he's healthy, he's just so involved in the offense. He's a touches guy for me. I'm just going to continue to take those touches. Whereas James Cook, they're going to mix in Josh Allen at the goal line. They're going to mix in Ray Davis a little bit this year. So I'm a little bit more interested in Kieran Williams, I think, at this point, especially in the 3rd round. I think that's a good price point for him. Now, I'm on the clock here. I have Breece, Puka, Nico. They're giving me a discount here on Lamar Jackson, which feels pretty good here. I think the 4th round's really tricky. You look at a lot of these names, and a lot of them feel like potential landmines. I'm just going to take what I thought was the MVP quarterback last year. Lamar Jackson was the number 1 QB last season, and I'm just going to feel good about my quarterback points every week. And this is good because usually we wait for quarterback in these ESPN drafts. But if you're going to give me a discount on Lamar Jackson, I think I'm going to take that pretty much every time. And yeah, that's just kind of the way of things, man. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys on auto for sure. But the good news is we're still going to get a good amount of mocking in and figuring things out. Harris grabs Mike Evans. And I think if you guys have been checking out my projections on thefantasyfellowship.com, you're going to see some things changing this week. I've been updating projections this week. I'm more into Mike Evans than I was a few days ago. I think this Chris Godwin news is really, really bad. Chris Godwin is probably one of the worst picks you can make in redraft right now. He had a second surgery on that ankle that he fractured last year. And at this point, man, like I'm taking Emeka Ibuka over Chris Godwin. Give me the first round talent rookie with no injury history really over Chris Godwin. So Godwin's completely off my board. I want Mike Evans. I want Emeka Ibuka. I want Bucky Irving. That's the Tampa Bay offense for me. Who do you think is going to be the biggest riser and faller solely based off training camp? I think we're already at that point where Hampton is, yeah, if you want Hampton, he's a third round pick now, guys. So he's already on the rise. So I don't think it's fair to say Amari Hampton. I think Xavier Worthy is one of those guys that's going to be a huge riser. You're going to probably see him up towards the Jackson Smith and the Jigba Marvin Harrison turn pretty soon. Biggest faller, it's going to be Rashee Rice. I think, because I see the thoughts on Terry question here, I think Terry's the guy that's going to rise, especially once he does get a new deal. People are going to be excited about him, and you're probably going to see him back up into the third round. So Terry, I expect him to rise. Just looking around here, I think George Pickens, man, once we get some more camp highlights of George Pickens catching touchdowns from Dak, he's going to be a riser. Quinshon Judkins, definitely going to be a big-time faller here. He should not have been picked right now. He might get suspended. He's still not even under contract with the Cleveland Browns. So I think Judkins is a huge faller. I think Godwin's a huge faller, if not already. He's actually pretty far down. I think Jawan Jennings is going to be a huge riser in the coming weeks, just because no Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall's going to be out there soon. But I'm up to pick right now. So let's get some of these wide receivers here. Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle. I love these two players. I like Calvin Ridley quite a bit as well. He's going to be more frustrating week to week, though. And because I didn't get my guy Devon Achane, Mr. Tony had to be Tony and grab my guy. I'm going to grab Jalen Waddle as my flex. And yeah, I'm don't get me wrong. I absolutely love Malik Neighbors. Like, I was one of the higher dudes on Malik Neighbors last year, and I think a lot of people drafted him because of my rankings, but I'm definitely concerned, man. This is a completely lost season for the Giants. We're going to see Russell Wilson start 10 games. We're going to see Jameis Winston play a few. We're going to see Jackson Dart play a few. We might just see them take it easy with Malik Neighbors if that toph does flare up. And yeah, I think I know Terry's in the area. Like, he's waiting to get on the practice field. I think they're going to get a deal done soon. I was reading some good comments from the ownership. They're going to get Terry paid. They want to keep Terry on this team. So I think that's going to happen at some point. We'll get to Tony's question here on Garrett Wilson in a second. I'm on the clock here. We got Lamar, Breece Hall, Puka, Nico, and Jalen Waddle. I'm feeling pretty good about this group so far. I really like Calvin Ridley. I really do. I think he's going to be fantastic for Cam Ward. And I'm looking at these boom bust guys, whether it's Jamison Williams, maybe it's Jerry Jeudy. Very interested in these guys. I'm just going to go ahead and just click on Calvin Ridley, put him on my bench, because if he is his team's number one receiver, that's a value for me. That's why I took him over Jamison Williams. I think Jerry Jeudy's an interesting target here as well. But we're loading the depth here at the wide receiver position. Can Garrett Wilson have 11 plus receptions per game this year? I think that's too high. I think 11 targets is probably even too high for Garrett Wilson. You'd be talking 170 targets for Justin Fields' number one wide receiver. I think it's really easy to look at what Justin Fields did back in, I think it was 2023 with DJ Moore. And DJ Moore was a fantastic play that year. He had one of the best, probably the best season of his career. Wide receiver 6. He had 136 targets, 96 catches, a huge yards per catch total, 8 touchdowns, even ran in a touchdown. I think Garrett Wilson, between those 90 and 100 receptions, makes a lot of sense to me. This team wants to run the ball. It's going to be the identity of the offense. But Garrett Wilson may be catching 7 passes per game. I can't do the math right now, but 7 times 17 is going to be like, I don't know, well over 100 receptions. So I think Wilson can be your PPR guy that you're looking for. Probably perform as a really strong wide receiver too for us, because I just don't know if the touchdowns are going to be there. Yeah, that's not good, my man Harris. I think Godwin's probably a pup list candidate. I don't think he's going to play the first 4 games of the season. And yeah, I think Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson's going to have a really nice year. Touchdowns are going to be low. I think he's going to be 7, 8 touchdowns, and that's still pretty decent if that's low. But he's going to be the volume guy. He's really the only guy to throw the ball to. So I think Garrett Wilson probably catching. I'm going to give him about 7 catches per game. Maybe those 9, 10 targets per game. But for sure, flirting with the 100 catch season, which in the past, and guys, the wide receiver data study that we did, a week ago, you get a guy that's going to catch 100 passes, you're going to have a good time. Would I take Gibbs over CD, JJ in full PPR? I'm fine with that. I think I'm going to have CD Lamb ranked higher than the other guys here. I would probably rank them as CD Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then Justin Jefferson. I think they're all slam dunk picks, but it's a preference thing. Do you want to wait for the running back in the next round? I'm totally comfortable taking both CD and Gibbs over Justin Jefferson at this point. But hey, we're on the board here. I don't have my Dallas Cowboy yet. I got to get me some Javonte Williams as my RB2. And as long as he can just be Rico Dowdle serviceable, just get me 200 to 250 touches, give me some PPR volume, and just be the guy that the Cowboys use the most. That's really all it takes. Definitely agree with this one there, Mr. Magic. Any fear or concern Saquon Barkley will have a decline in production? Historical data indicates he will. He's guaranteed to have reduction in pretty much every stat, Tony. Pretty much every stat from Saquon Barkley is coming down, whether you like it or not. And that's scary. That's totally scary. I'm on the clock right now. I'm looking at Ramondre, Jalen Warren. You guys know these are my guys. You guys also know I love Mark Andrews quite a bit. But I'm going to go Jalen Warren just because I got to stay on brand, But Saquon Barkley last year, man, him, I guess, and Derrick Henry too, because these guys got massive upgrades just with the style of offense that they got moved to. Giants to the Eagles, Tennessee to the Ravens. But Saquon Barkley, man, like he's kind of getting up there in age. I think he's 20. Yeah, he's 28 now. And he's coming off a lot of touches these last few years. I think you'd be crazy to predict him to go over 2,000 yards again. Even 1,700 rushing yards is crazy. So these numbers are coming down. I think the touchdowns could be there. And, these 30-some receptions is probably pretty nice for him. I think he could duplicate that. But for sure, we're losing a ton of rushing yards in this profile. And that could still make him one of the best backs in the league. He's got a really safe floor. But you do have to consider, hey, he's going to lose some points, and he's not a super PPR threat in that offense. So I don't see him as a must draft top 5 pick. I think I take a lot of other guys over Saquon Barkley. I'm taking CD, I'm taking Gibbs, I'm taking Bijan, I'm taking a lot of other guys. And yeah, that's what I saw. I saw a lot of positive energy around Tootin on X today with his speed and just his kind of just versatility. I think he's going to be an exciting pick. And that's one of the questions from before is who's a guy that could rise? I think Tootin's a guy that could easily rise. I think once we get clarity on the Giants backfield, if it is Cam Scatabo, if it's Tyrone Tracy, one of those guys could rise quite a bit. I'm expecting to get a couple more answers on guys like that. It's really hard to say, Mr. Magic. Just we don't know what the suspension looks like. I think in a best ball draft, I'm not taking Rashee Rice because he's going to be dead for a good majority of the year. But on like a playoff format like DraftKings or Underdog, I think I'm open to taking Rice because he should be available for weeks 15, 16, and 17. And same thing with your redraft leagues. If we hear it's only 4-game suspension, I'm interested. But, and I know the reports have been good, I usually just don't like taking players off of ACL injury. And he's got a lot more target competition than what he had last year when he was lighting it up. So we cannot expect him to just come in and play at those levels that he was last year. I think that's not fair. But we're on the clock here. I still don't have a tight end. Colston Loveland, my guy. I do like Zach Charbonnet quite a bit as a backup here. I'm not seeing a ton of guys that I like, so I'm just going to grab a rookie here, Emeka Ibuka, as my wide receiver 5. I think again he is too low here on ESPN. I think he's like a 7th-round pick over on your best ball formats. He's going to be a screaming riser once people see that Chris Godwin's still not going to be playing for a little bit to start the year. So Ibuka is a guy that I'm targeting aggressively if you're drafting early. Tony grabbed my Jordan Mason. I didn't look deep enough. Tony grabbed one of my favorite sleeper picks there. So good snag on Mr. Tony. And guess what, guys? I'm gonna reach a little bit here on tight end. I don't normally do this, but I'm gonna grab Tucker Kraft because I seem to not like Tucker Kraft. I think it might have been a Wednesday or two ago where we were talking about Tucker Kraft, and I seem to not really be all in on him as a tight end for redraft. But I went back to the drawing board on the Packers. I moved Jaden Reed up to lead the team in receiving targets, but I have Tucker Kraft right there with him. I think Tucker Kraft's going to be kind of basically he's a discount Mark Andrews in my opinion, where he's going to get those 4 or 5 catches per game, and he's just going to continue to be a guy that moves the chains and catches touchdowns and be a mismatch for Jordan Love. And I think grabbing Tucker Kraft here, I do feel good about him as my top 10 tight end every week. Is DK Metcalf an incredible value this year, or is it just me at current ADP? I mean, you're getting a team's number 1 receiver, which always feels good. I also I'm just worried, man, because Aaron Rodgers, couple things. I don't think DK is a great fit for what Rodgers can do at this point of his career. Rodgers, he needs a guy that can get open quick. That's not always DK Metcalf. When the play is blocked perfectly and Rodgers has time, he's going to have some sweet plays to DK Metcalf down the field. So we're kind of betting on a couple things here. Can DK Metcalf get open quickly? Can he be a quick slant guy? A guy that they just get the ball out to on a quick hitch, whatever. I'm not sure. And then the other part is, Pittsburgh's offensive line keeping Rodgers upright and healthy. So there's a couple pieces here. I do think DK is going to be fine as your wide receiver 3 flex. But I mean, I would take maybe Sutton. I'm taking Flowers, George Pickens, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Rome Odunze, Calvin Ridley. I feel good about those guys too. So Metcalf, I'm not all the way in on DK. He could end up catching like 10 touchdowns, though. He could just be the only guy that Rodgers has to throw to in the red zone, and they figure that out. So I think it's going to be one of those seasons where DK is never going to be a volume play. He's going to be a big yardage touchdown guy, kind of like a Mike Evans type, and that could pay off this year. But I think he's priced fine. And it's approaching our next turn here. Where do you think Godwin has to fall to for to be comfortable to draft him? Harris, I'm probably just not going to be comfortable drafting Chris Godwin. I hate to break it to you, but I don't draft Godwin in best ball. I don't want to babysit him and wait for him in redraft. We're talking about a player that's around 30 years old, coming off of a really bad ankle fracture. And on top of that, he's had multiple other injuries stack up throughout his career. I got to be honest, it really doesn't look good for Chris Godwin. Dalton Kincaid's out there. He's a tight end that I'm kind of keeping my eye on. I'm gonna grab Isaac Guerrero here. Just put him on my bench. If anything happens to McCaffrey, I have a speed back here. Ibuka is, old guy. Just I think them drafting Ibuka says a lot. I know they gave Godwin a good amount of money in that contract, a 3-year contract, but I think this is kind of a lost year for Godwin. My projections, I moved Godwin down to Tampa Bay's wide receiver 4. I have Jalen McMillan out producing Godwin this year. And damn it, Tony, he grabbed Trey Benson and Blake Corum. It's always Tony. Why you got to do that to me, Tony? We'll grab Ray Davis here. Just continue to build up my running back depth. I would say week 5 is probably the most realistic. I mean, it doesn't sound like he's ready to practice yet. And, I'm at this point, I'm kind of viewing it as it's almost like a torn ACL where sure, he can get back on the practice field at some point in August. and he could still go on pup list. I think there's a lot to learn about this injury yet. I don't think he's going to be a guy you want in your starting lineup for at least the first month. And, if he does get back week 5, like, we're not starting him his first game back. He's got to get his legs underneath him and get integrated back into this offense. So I really can't have any strong takes on Godwin until we see him return to practice. But for now, he's a guy that I think we're crossing off our lists. Other injury guys that I did hear good things about, like Stephon Diggs, and I don't like taking guys with ACL injuries, but Stephon Diggs seems to be defying some of that historical data where he looks really good in practice and he seems very comfortable. I think he's going to have a nice year with Drake May. So Stephon Diggs is one of those guys that I like. I love Josh. Josh Downs is way too cheap here, guys. At pick 138, he's a 7th round pick on Drafters and DraftKings. So Josh Downs is a huge target for me down here. I do think we're going to see Keenan Allen sign somewhere in the next week or two. I'm not saying to grab him in Dynasty or anything like that, but I am curious to see where he goes. I kind of think that could be something to note. And yeah, I think we gotta lower Chris Godwin. I think at this point you gotta rank Emeka Egbuka ahead of Chris Godwin for sure. I think for me, Chris Godwin's back here. Like, if Chris Godwin's in, round 13, 14 of this draft, and I'm looking at Ayuk and some rookie receivers, I think this is kind of where you pull him. Otherwise, I'm not going to be getting much of Godwin at all. What other players are you completely out on this year? I think ADP wise, I'm out on both Travion Henderson and Caleb Johnson. Why draft Caleb Johnson when I can get David Montgomery or Tank Bigsby later? I think they're the same profile. And Travion Henderson's going to need a Ramondre Stevenson injury for him to be of use, which I'm more open to Travion Henderson. I just don't want to spend a 5th or 6th round pick on a guy that I'm going to have to babysit. That's a little steep for me. I'm going to double dip on tight end here and just grab Tyler Warren in case Kraft doesn't work out for me. I think he could be a sneaky 60, 70 catch guy for the Colts. But other guys that I'm probably just not drafting at ADP, honestly, it's Barkley. Like, I'm not drafting Barkley at ADP. I'm not drafting a lot of Amon-Ra or Malik Neighbors right now. I usually don't draft Derrick Henry, but Aiden round 2, I think that's fine. Let me just grab let me see if I can find something here for us to talk about. Joe Mixon's a guy I don't draft a lot. He's not in camp right now. He's not practicing. Nick Chubb got the first touches. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna grab Jerome Ford, just a PPR back here that I think will lead his running back mates in catches. Other guys I'm not drafting. I'm really not in on Tyreek Hill. I'm really not in on Joe Mixon. I don't draft a lot of Mike Evans and Terry McLaurin, but I think I'm going to change my tune on that a little bit. I don't draft Rashee Rice right now just because I don't know the suspension stuff. I don't like Chuba Hubbard at all. Like, Chuba Hubbard's not a good pass catching back. I think that's going to be a full-blown committee this season. I don't draft Quinshon Judkins ever. He's got his own legal issues. Again, Caleb Johnson and Travion Henderson for me. These guys, you're spending a 6th round pick to babysit a guy where I could plug in a numerous amount of other players here that I think I can get more value out of. I'm not drafting Travis Kelce this year. I'm not drafting. I kind of like this round. I'm not really interested in Cooper Kupp. I get that. Detroit played at the top of their peak, I think, last year. I think they're coming down in terms of offensive output. And then you have the defense that's going to be better. You have new offensive and defensive coordinators. I think there's just a lot of things there where, to me, Detroit's like a lock for them to regress in a lot of major offensive category stats. And I'm a little bit nervous about those cleanup surgeries from Amon-Ra. I think Jameson Williams I think he's an emerging breakout player. I don't hate Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I think for he's being drafted, I'm taking Drake London. I'm taking Puka. I'm taking BTJ. I'm taking just a few other guys over him at this point. I'm going to keep drafting the 49ers as my defense that I like because I like their schedule. And Mr. Magic, my preference is I think it's Bucky. I like Bucky from the Bucks, and then it's Ibuka. I just like Ibuka's value here, especially on ESPN. And yeah, I think Aiden, if you draft with a plan for Henderson and he's not your starting RB2 week 1, I think that can work out for you. But he's just usually not a guy that I'm looking for in the 6th round. But I could change my tune on that. I think they're still going to use Ramondre quite a bit to make that messy. But we finished up our draft here. I'm just going to recap mine and then we'll move into the sleeper draft, guys. I got Lamar Jackson QB1. We never draft QB early, but we did it in this one just for you guys. Running backs are Breece Hall, which I feel good about. And then we're going to have a competition at RB2 for Javonte Williams. We got Jalen Warren, Isaac Guerrero, Ray Davis, and Jerome Ford. We'll figure that out. I like the receiver depth here. Puka, Nico, Waddle, and Calvin Ridley are our top 4. We got Ibuka down here to see what he can do. And then the tight end spot, Kraft and Tyler Warren. I feel pretty good about that duo. So pretty solid all-around draft here. And yeah, that's one thing for me. I think my favorite team is clearly the Packers. I don't like drafting a lot of their guys, but I'll get sucked into Jordan Love. I'll get sucked into Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft right now. And yeah, let's get this sleeper draft filled out. I'll just pause for a couple minutes here. We have the first 5 picks loaded up here. This is a 10-team PPR draft here. Here is the link if you want to join it real quick. The settings on this, I don't draft kickers and defenses on the sleeper. It just doesn't really make sense to, I think, mock those teams. But 1 QB, 2 running back, 2 receiver, a tight end, and 2 flexes. If this is useful for you, I hope you guys learned something from it. And let's go ahead and I think we're good. We got the first 5 picks here, and we got some jank at the end from ADP, but we're gonna have fun and we got some spammage going on here. So if you could not do that, like just don't spam, dude. Get a job. But we're underway, Tony. The floor is yours. Tony goes Bijan, which to me, if I'm taking a running back, I want Bijan as my first choice. I will take Jamar Chase here at 102. I think that feels pretty comfortable to me. I'm all in. I think it's very clear. The 3 guys that I want at the top, Jamar Chase, Bijan, CeeDee Lamb, and then I think Gibbs would be that 4th choice. I think that's my top 4 for now. I would probably put Barkley at 5. And Aiden does grab Jahmyr Gibbs. Barkley goes 4th overall. And we'll see what Mr. Magic goes Lamb. So that's the top 5 for me. I think you can kind of mix them up and dice them any way you like it. I feel really comfortable. All right, we're back. Sorry, technical difficulties here. I got auto picked here, a couple guys. I hope everyone can hear me still. I apologize for the technical difficulties there. We're into the 3rd round here. I did take Bucky Irving in this draft. It did give me Josh Jacobs here, which I probably would have taken, but I'm happy with my running backs here. I probably would have taken Ladd McConkey had I been able to make that pick. I think Lad McConkey is one of my favorite breakout year two guys, and I typically really like taking year two breakout wide receivers, and I think there's a handful of good ones. Whether it's Brian Thomas, whether it's Malik Neighbors, Lad McConkey, like we got gifted a really nice rookie class last year. But I'm happy. Josh Jacobs and Bucky Irving, I think that's fine. And then again, this draft is for the Canadians elite, so I hope he is going to watch this and learn some things. We went Jamar Chase, Bucky, Josh Jacobs here, and we'll see what these boys give me on the turn. I think my mindset changes a little bit with a 10 to 12 team league. I want to make sure I have some competent tight end one and quarterback one here. Aiden does grab Jalen Hurts here. I kind of like George Kittle. I'm not super all into George Kittle, and I'm probably going to do something that I don't know if I need to do, but we're going to take Amarian Hampton here. We're going to keep this running back train rolling and get him as our flex. To me, I think Brees is going to be he's going to be the guy that leads his team in yards. I think when I just kind of remove what I think about how the Jets are going to be, I know he's going to get touches. And Tony does grab Devontae and Kenneth Walker here. I'm going to grab one of the only healthy dudes available on the 49ers, and that's going to be Curious George Kittle to be our tight end one. We now have 3 running backs. I'm going to be plugging in receivers here probably for a little bit coming forward. And so the other part too is like I know Brees is a talented running back. Like I think he's fantastic. I think, you know, Rodgers and just the stink of what happened last year is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. But we're talking about a top 5 talent at the running back position, and I think, you know, we're getting 12 to 1400 total yards and 10 plus touchdowns. He's a guy that I want to bet on. And I think at round 4, 6 there, round 4, pick 6, that feels pretty good. And we'll see what the boys spit back to us. I do like some of the receivers here, whether it's Zay, Worthy, Pickens, McMillan. Man, we are struggling to keep it together here. I'm sorry. All right. Hopefully this will hold on to it for a little bit here. I'm not quite sure what the issue is. It's really hot right now. It's like 95 degrees outside. I don't know if there's something going on with that, but I did get George Pickens here, which I feel very good about. He is my wide receiver too. It is what it is, but I do feel very good about that. I'm going to grab Jalen Waddle here to be my number 3, and now we are pretty. I feel pretty good about this group: Jamar Chase, George Pickens, and Jalen Waddle at the receiver positions. Bucky, Jacobs, and Hampton at the running back spot. So we have a nice, well-balanced start. And again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. Not sure what's going on here. If it freezes again, I apologize. But either way, the sleeper mock is still mocking. It's just my technical difficulties on the internet end here. But I kind of like it because like we got the one half of the board just being auto picked for us, and then we just get to slug against each other here. And it looks like Harris has his QB1, Aiden has his QB1. We're going to be battling for some QBs here. I think in a 10-team league, though, I kind of like waiting. I can get a lot of value at the quarterback spot. So we'll figure that out. A lot of receivers that I still like on the board. All the running backs are kind of cooked right now. I don't see any studs left per se. I could grab a QB here, but I don't know if I need to. I kind of like waiting at this point. So we're probably going to continue to fill out our bench here with some receivers and maybe a running back or two. And I'm waiting for Aiden to make his pick. He goes DeAndre Swift. I'm going to continue to collect Romo Dunze. That's just another one of those second-year receivers that I think a lot of people are unsure of Romo Dunze. And I think we could be 1 or 2 games in and we just be like, oh my God, Romo Dunze is the best receiver on the Bears. Tony takes one of my favorite sleeper picks right now, Juwan Jennings. I think he's going to be a guy that's screaming up draft boards in no time. Tyrone Tracy, Jalen Warren. I'm not super in love with some of these players here, but I do like some of these wide receivers here. I'm just going to grab Khalil Shakir. I think he's the safe, clear receiver option for Buffalo. A guy that will be on my bench, but if I ever need to throw him out as a wide receiver 3 or 2, I think I can get my 10 to 15 points from him every week. So that does feel pretty good. Do you like Olave or Waddle more? I think I'm going to lean towards Jalen Waddle just a little bit because I'm going to be more comfortable with Tua. It hiccuped. I'm going to be more comfortable with Tua throwing to Waddle, Tyreek. I think losing Jonnu Smith and bringing in Darren Waller is a big boost for some of these guys on Miami. So I'm going to lean Jalen Waddle, but it's close. I think if Olave stays healthy and plays 17 games this year, he's going to be a value at any point that you take him. Round 7 here in this 10-man PPR league does feel pretty good. But I'm going to lean slightly Jalen Waddle. And we're at that point of the draft where I think I need to get a quarterback soon, but everyone's already pretty much got a quarterback. I think it's just me and Tony, and we'll see. My guy, Mr. Magic, needs a quarterback as well yet. But at this point, I really don't care who my quarterback is. I'm comfortable taking pretty much 2 of any of these guys. So at this point, I'm going to take 2, and we'll roll with that. I think there's some interesting wide receivers still available here. Running backs, I still feel good about my trio here. They're going to give me Ramondre and Jordan Mason. I'm taking Jordan Mason this time, Mr. Tony. I think he's got a legit chance to be the guy you want in Minnesota this season. I do like the Ricky Pearsall pick. You got Jennings and Pearsall there to kind of figure that out. Potential steal on the 49ers wide receiver 1. Can't complain there. I am kind of deep at receiver. Chase, Pickens, Waddle, Odunze, and Shakir. I don't need to force it here. I might just end up... Goes Matthew Golden. I'm going to take Josh Downs, who I just think is a really good player, and I'm probably done at receiver here. I think he's a layup to lead the Colts in receptions, targets, and probably yards this year. We'll see if he can connect on touchdowns. And I think we've talked about just being a little bit more excited about the outlook for the Colts receivers if Daniel Jones is playing some of the games. Aiden does grab Bashal Tootin here, who, I mean, if Tootin starts getting the reports and the plays out there on X that, you know, he's going to be more involved than we think, he's going to be moving up boards too. So I think getting ahead on Tootin, I think, makes a lot of sense. Looks like the ADP for the quarterbacks just went nuts here. We got sniped on a lot of quarterbacks. Baker, Nix, Murray, and Jay Herbert. That does hurt. Oh, good Dak Prescott pull there with the CeeDee Lamb stack. I like that. You guys know I like that quite a bit. Man. I think I'm going to run it to empty on QB at this point because I don't think these ADPs over here are going to go quarterback. I'm going to grab one more running back here and maybe one more receiver and call it good. I'm taking Austin Eckler a lot in full PPR. I think he's a guy that, you know, I could whip out and get 8 to 12 points on any given week just with, 3-4 catches and some carries. I think he's still got at least one more season of usefulness in him. The receivers are not looking good at this point. So I can maybe pivot towards looking at quarterback here, but I'm going to just take a chance on a rookie wide receiver here, Trey Harris. Just put him on the team. I guess I got Hampton, and now I got Trey Harris. But I got 2 spots left to fill. I'm going to finish this draft with 2 quarterbacks. And we'll see what they give me at the end here. I do like the, Jaden Blue, Garendo, Dobbins. These are all good lottery ticket potentials that could be guys that we end up starting at some point this year. I think Dobbins is going to be more involved early in the year, but I do expect Harvey to kind of take more work from him as the year goes on. I think Christian Kirk's probably the number 2 receiver in Houston. And then, like Tank Bigsby for me, man, that's the profile that you're getting when you draft Caleb Johnson in round 8 in this 10-team league. So I'm in on Tank Bigsby at this cost. And then, a lot of backup running backs here, whether it's Tajay, Benson, Dowdle, Davis. Sampson is a good pull there. I was going to think about him, but he would have been buried on my depth chart a little bit. I think Sampson's probably the Cleveland back to own as far as leading the team in rushing yards and carries probably this season. So if you grab Sampson in Dynasty, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. There goes McMillian. And y'all going to give me Tony's waiting for QB. I do not trust that man. I'm gonna grab Justin Fields for 1, just for that rushing upside. And I think he was probably lining up a little Garrett Wilson situation, but I want that rushing upside. I gave him Jordan Love, which I'm fine with, but tons of useful QBs down here, man. I'm gonna just grab a little CJ Stroud action here. And there you go. Fields, Stroud are my QBs. And I feel pretty good about this team. I think we, in a 10-team man league, you want to wait for QB. Jamar Chase, wide receiver 1, George Pickens, Waddle, Odunze, Shakir. That's a really good group of 5. And then we got some sleepers here, Josh Downs and Trey Harris. The running backs are pretty stocked. Bucky, Jacobs, Hampton. And then we'll see about Jordan Mason and Austin Eckler. George Kittle at tight end. I didn't feel the need to grab a tight end too. But Fields and Stroud, man, they're free. Tom Brady, salute. But good draft from everybody here. I think we had fun in this 10-team league. I'm going to apologize for the shitty internet connection over here. I think it's just really hot. Like I can hear my computer running. That might just be overheating. But either way, guys, I want to say thank you for hanging out with me on this Wednesday evening. I'm not sure when I'll be putting up my next video. I might be able to put something out this weekend. We'll see. But otherwise, every Wednesday night still, we're going to keep doing this. And maybe I'll do like a Friday night, just a news recap here and give you guys some of the training camp buzz and reports and stuff like that. But either way, I want to say thank you again for putting up with my shitty Wi-Fi and enjoy the rest of your night. Peace.
Got me feeling icy.